Now, there's arguably no greater sceptic of the euro than Britain's Nigel Farage, the head of UKIP, the UK Independent Party. A former city broker, he's a member of the European Parliament, and if you haven't seen them on YouTube, his attacks on the euro bureaucracy make for compulsive viewing. As the French presidential election looms and Spain spasms, we thought we'd ask him what he really thinks. Well, Nigel Farage in London, welcome there to the programme.
Thank you.
Now, you've told the heads of the European Council, the ECB and Parliament to their faces, and I quote, "We're now living in a German-dominated Europe, something that the European project was actually supposed to stop, something that those who went before us actually paid a heavy price in blood to prevent." And you told them that they should all be fired. It all seemed to fall on deaf ears in Europe.
Well, of course, I mean, they're the vested interest, they're the people with the jobs, they're the people earning big salaries and with the best pensions payable anywhere in the world, so it's in their interest to keep the thing going. But what I'm trying to do in this country, and particularly right across the Eurozone, is to get some proper democratic opposition to this project. Because remember, this isn't just economic. I mean, the economics of this are doomed anyway, because the euro was never going to work. But it's more serious than that, because what these people have done, and these are bad people in my view, what they've done is they've actually removed democracy from nation-states. We've had the head of Greece, a prime minister, who was removed and replaced by a puppet, and exactly the same thing has happened in Italy. So I am doing my best in the European Parliament to lead a fight back. I want to live in a Europe of democratic nation-states that trade together, not a Europe where Germany calls the shots and faceless bureaucrats take over our democracies.
Well, much of what you predicted has come true. A contagion is spreading to Spain now, in a very sizable country. If the only answer is the breakup of the euro, the death of the euro, what then?
Well, what then is, we have a difficult few weeks or months whilst things settle down, and then we go to a situation where countries like Greece will have the drachma back. It'll be substantially lower on the world exchanges than it is now, and that'll mean a massive flood of tourists going to the country. It'll mean Greek exports being more competitive. It'll mean Greece having a chance of actually getting back on track.
But what about the other nation states and in fact a financial crisis happening? Because this is what people are in the bureaucracy trying to stop, another Lehman Brothers. We just don't know, do we?
Well, of course. I mean, look, the vested interests always say that if the current system broke down, the sky would fall in. They always do this. That, governments through history have done this. The truth of it is we have got a series of Mediterranean countries that are now trapped inside something. Not only their democracy is gone, but their economies are spiralling downwards. The Greek economy contracted by a rate of 7% last year. It's fallen nearly 25% since this crisis begun. Youth unemployment is over 50%. In countries like Spain and Greece. And if we go on down this road, my fear, and I mean this, is we may well see violent revolution in some of those Mediterranean countries. This is serious. We need to break the euro up. We need countries to get their own currencies back, their own parliaments back, and then, and only then, will they have a chance.
Nigel, if you're wrong and if we just muddle on, what are the consequences if Britain does actually quit the European Union? I used to work in the city. What's the city's view on this, about the retaliation to the City of London?
Well, the city at the moment is, of course, being damaged hugely by bureaucratic regulations coming out of Brussels. They hate, as they see it, our Anglo-Saxon model. They blame us for all the world's ills. What happens is we leave the European Union, we go on doing business with French and German companies, but more importantly, we enable ourselves to open up fresh trading links, and I think the Commonwealth would be a very good place to start.
Right. Well, you were talking just now about the fear of social unrest and indeed the whole rise of the right that's going on in Europe. Tell me, are you an admirer of the policies of France's Marine Le Pen and indeed her father?
No, I've never liked the old man. I've never liked the Front National. It is very, very bigoted, very chauvinistic, very anti-Semitic. But, and I will say this, Marine Le Pen is very different to her father. She has renounced many of the things that his party used to stand for. She's taken the Front National to a more realistic position. She did phenomenally well, getting 6.5 million votes in that election. If she has the courage to leave behind the Front National and all that unpleasantness, she could become the next Conservative leader in France. So she has a massive, massive opportunity.
What about your own party, UKIP? Because that's been branded as EU-obsessed and with unsavoury BNP tendencies. Isn't that going to get a lot worse as austerity bites?
Look, you know, first things first, we're not EU-obsessed, but we merely point out that now 75% of Britain's laws are made by unelected bureaucrats in Brussels, and we find that unacceptable. And any possible suggestion that we are linked to far-right extremism is plain nonsense. I'm here in London today. We've got a big set of London elections tomorrow. You know, we have got Muslim, black, Asian candidates standing for us, homosexual candidates standing for us. You know, we are a libertarian, all-inclusive party. You know, you can be patriotic and be part of UKIP without hating anybody.
Are you a single-issue party, or are you more than that?
No. This is the most important single constitutional issue we will face in our lifetime. But now we have an agenda, not just about who governs Britain, but for how an independent Britain could and should be run. And that is why we're rising in the polls. That is why we're about to overtake the Lib Dems to become the third biggest party in this country.
Nigel Farage, you are at least a very good example of democracy at work. Thank you so much for joining us from London.